Ahem. What's up, people of the world? It's me, Alex Swimmer, aka AP3 Jumped, with a brand new haircut, and welcome back. Welcome back to a brand new video. Today, I'm finally reviewing what is actually one of my favorite episodes of The Loud House. It's called A Dark and Story Night, and well, I could have rewatched it just for the sake of refreshing my memory, but I didn't really need to because this episode is just that memorable. It's just that memorable. So yeah, this episode is pretty awesome. Once I heard I no, I didn't really hear the premise for this. I actually I knew first found out about it via screenshots, and then that's how I knew what the episode was about. So anyway, because I never look at the premises of episodes before actually seeing them. I just don't like to do that. I just kind of like to keep myself surprised in that sense. But this episode was really fun. It was a blast from start to finish. Now let's start from the beginning a little bit. So this episode is about well, the power goes out in this episode first off, and all the loud kids are in the living room, and they're not sure what to do. So Lincoln, I think he's the one that brings this up. He brings up an idea to his siblings that he that they all tell a story, but they all each take turns telling the story. See, like one for example, like one person starts off the story, and then after a little bit, the next person continues where that person left off, and then the same thing happens over and over and over and over again. So it's like a chain reaction type of it's like a chain reaction type of storytelling, and it really works well for this episode. And so what the characters do actually is that they come up with a really fun and a very interesting story. It's like it combines sci-fi and fantasy pretty much, and it has all these wacky characters in it. A lot of the characters featured within the story are self-inserts of the Loud siblings, save for just a select few. There's only like a select few that don't have self-inserts, and so yeah, from the as the episode goes on, the story gets more and more interesting, and I think the overall premise of the story that they came up with was that the characters are trying to find like these like five crystal shards or power crystals or whatever they are, and in order to restore peace to the planet. And like I said, this story goes in all sorts of different directions, being told by the perspectives of 11 different people. And so that just because of that, you're bound to get a crazy story and a very entertaining one at that. And everybody what I will say is this, that sorry, everybody flows off of each other and builds off of one another quite well, if I should say, if I do say so myself. So yeah, I don't really know what else to say. So in the end, the characters find the power crystals, and I think they actually were called power crystals. Like what Crash Bandicoot has. But anyway, so yeah, all the characters within the story, they find each of these crystals, and pieces restored to the planet, because like I said, they searched the entire planet to find all these crystals, and they got all these crystals from a bunch of different characters. All the crystals come from at least one character, and hell, Alana's insert character, the little frog character that she comes up with, that little frog character accidentally swallowed one of the crystals, or yeah, it's pretty funny. And the characters wind up collecting the crystals in a lot of unique and interesting and creative ways, and So yeah, the story is just extremely inventive, and it's in a it's in a sci-fi fantasy setting, which is something we don't get to see in the Loud House very often, if at all. So the only other times we get and I'm talking like the only times we ever get to see um the only time we get to see like a setting in the Loud House that is sort of fantastical is when we see their self inserts in the A Savvy universe, and so that's the only other time. So that's why I love this story. The story within the story, and yeah. So yeah, this episode is really fun, and by the end of the episode, they wind up telling another story off screen. So yeah, that's I wonder what the story was. So yeah, this episode it's a hell of a lot of fun, and I probably will rewatch it again just to watch it again. I mean, it's one of my favorite episodes of the show actually, and it's just got everything right going for it. It's set in a fantasy slash sci-fi setting, and it literally combines both of those two settings into one. You got a really cool locations and really cool self-insert characters. Almost everybody that tells a story has their own self-insert character, and the story's just it's just overall really fun, and it's just a blast to watch and to listen to the characters tell the story. And this actually reminds me of something I did one time in English class. I did something just like this in English class, except telling stories. We wrote like a story prompt. What we did instead was we started coming up with a story on just writing it down and then handing it to the next person, building off of what the previous person did, and then so on and so on and so forth, until there was a pretty wacky, and crazy story that you know wound up being created by the end of all of that. So that was like in ninth or 10th grade when I did that. So yeah, I did. So these characters in this episode do exactly that, but in a slightly different way, and we actually get to see what they're talking about. So yeah, this episode it's a blast. I freaking love it. I highly recommend it. It's just that good, and there's also a lot of really cool references. Some of them were easy for me to catch right away. Others were not. Um, there are references to Star Wars and Space Jam. Lynn's insert character looks like one of the Monstars from Space Jam. Um, Lincoln's Lincoln's self insert character. I can't remember the names of all of them, but his self insert character is like a space cowboy. That definitely reminds me of Firefly. Um, and also he drives what apparently looks like an X-wing starfighter. I think that's what the wiki said. Hold on, because I don't quite remember. I didn't quite remember what the ship looked like. Oh yeah, they apparently looked like an X-wing starfighter. And also Lucy's insert character, the little basketball ghost, looks just like the Pac-Man ghosts, and it's pretty much the same exact type of shape. So yeah. Also, Lana's insert character being a a frog is really clever, as well as as a lot of the other insert characters are really clever as well. And Lori's mermaid design looks great. And mermaid Lori, she has a boyfriend who she calls Boo Boo Bear, which is an actual bear who's supposed to represent Bobby. That's really clever as well. All the self inserts are really clever. Um, to the characters so that they're based on. So yeah, another random fun fact is that the this is actually Sammy Crowley's very last episode that she worked on before departing from Nickelodeon. Yeah. So I remember hearing about that. I remember hearing about that on Twitter for a while. So yeah. Um, Like I said, I absolutely love this episode. I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it already. And if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. Like the video if you liked it. And ring the bell to be notified of future videos I make. Stay tuned for plenty of more Loud House and Casa Grande episode reviews. I've got so many more on the way. So many more in the pipeline. Yes, look forward to that throughout the rest of this month. Yeah. Once again, I'm Alex Wimmer, aka AP3 Jumped. Thank you so much for watching until the end. That is it for me, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.